Been getting some questions from you out there wanting to know what you should be doing for practice to help build stamina so you're not so burned out at the end of the day or just after shooting a few arrows. So you kind of have to think of this the same as you would for fitness. Higher volumes of reps are definitely going to equal more stamina, whereas those shorter spurts are going to probably equal more power, a little bit more finesse, right? So I really try to choose the volume of arrows based on what it is I'm practicing for as the first part of this equation. So right now I'm really just getting ready for TAC, getting ready for the Total Archery Challenge. I'll go out there normally on the practice range. I might shoot 3 to 6 arrows per end on a practice range. Right now I'm focusing on the power of 4 is something I had from one of the first series of School of Nock. And this was something that I incorporated at the beginning of my training season because historically, according to the calendar, the first thing I would always train for would be indoor season, which was immediately following hunting season and really at the beginning of the calendar year. And for the first tournaments that I would have would be 3-spot target faces. So it'd be Vegas faces or the feeder rounds. Because I was shooting 3 arrows per end, I added in the 4th, which would help me build the stamina in case I ever drew back, didn't like the shot, had to cancel, but then had to return back and get that 3rd arrow to land on the paper before the time clock expired. So by adding in the extra, I was able to have more in the tank than what I needed. So I would recommend doing that based on the type of event you're planning for. So if you're someone that's asking this question and you're a Vegas shooter, 4 to 5 per end would be very good. If you're someone that's training for the 5-spot face, add in that 6th arrow. If you're someone that's doing outdoor archery where you're doing 6 arrows per end, obviously boost that up. Now I can tell you once I get into the summer and the outdoor season, my goal is 12 at a time because the more I can do without the fatigue, the better off I am for the small window of scoreable arrows that I have. This is definitely going to take you building on the amount of arrows per end. Now, if this is something that you're struggling with, then what you may do is just set it on a calendar. Each week, you're going to add 1 arrow to that mix. Now, if on the last arrow you feel like you're breaking down and it just is not really wanting to happen without your technique going out the window, then just take longer times of break between the previous arrow and the last one that you need to get off prior to the pull. If you are tired, make yourself wait on the line and get that last one off before you go do the pull. Now the other thing is if you're struggling a little bit with that, then having a little bit more distance between you and the target equals rest time because you're walking from one to the next, which is why in the summertime when I'm here at the range and shooting this at 100 yards or 110 yards, I'm going to be lobbing down 6 to 12 arrows at a time, and then I've obviously got a good rest between going down and back. Now, never overlook training close. Training close helps you build on your numbers of arrows that you can shoot in volume. And what I would tell you is if you're focusing on the same spot all the time, it gets dangerous. If you're hitting arrows, also gets expensive. So just focusing on making shots at one spot at a time is really important. And that's why on our bag target, there's different numbers of targets on different quadrants of that bag. So in this case, I'm not shooting super awesome right now because I'm kind of outside for the second day and dealing with different light and some wind and all this stuff. So I'm just focusing on shooting around the clock, putting an arrow down, putting an arrow down, putting an arrow down, putting an arrow down. And honestly, as I get into next week, I should be able to add in a 5th arrow or add in a 6th arrow, and then continue to do the same until I can literally shoot one of every spot on that bag before I pull. So numbers are always awesome. If you're getting to the point where you just love shooting archery and you have a goal in mind of how many arrows you shoot per day, for me, like, I would never shoot less than 100 arrows a day, preferably 3. And how I did that was, originally my range was set up to where I had a double range, to where I would have targets on both ends of the field, to where I would shoot down and be able to pull and immediately shoot back and then pull again. So I'm able to cut my rest time in half while maximizing my time behind the bow. So I'm gonna sit here and work on these 4. And breathing between arrows, so important to the number of arrows that you can shoot. I've been working with a silverback. Honestly, I love this because it is going to point out when my shoulder starts to creep, when my shoulder starts to break down and fatigue and fail. And that's when I would let down, focus on the breathing, relax the arm, and kind of tell myself, okay, you know what you got to do. You got one left, dig deep, commit to the shot, don't wait on it, and pull through. Okay, one more arrow, and I'm going to give you one more tip. This next tip is, the reason you normally see me training by myself is because I'm able to get in the stamina that I need to, because I'm not distracted by talking other than to you guys throughout that thing. So keep that in mind. If you are trying to build stamina, then minimizing your rest time between shots is going to be critical. And if you bring the distractions with you to the range, then you're certainly going to minimize your time working on what you need to when you're there.